Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. I hope you will be safe at your homes with the people you love. Today we'll start the new topic, that is the biostat revision. It will cover in two parts. Today we'll cover the one part, and inshallah next Monday the second part. And from tomorrow onwards, I will also start to assign MCQs to you uh, by one topic, and we will try to cover during next couple of days the whole syllabus in the form of MCQs. I will give you one MCQ for one day for one MCQ, and you don't ask me to extend the time, because I will not include these MCQ quizzes in the internal assessments, but of course the students who will attend these MCQ, they will be benefited in the form of as well as of course their whole syllabus will be revised. So you have to attend daily one MCQ is from each topic. These will be the learning outcomes for today's discussion. What is variable, what is data, and what are its types? You may also be asked what is the difference between data and information. I usually start my Viva with the data types. You must able, because if you don't know what type of data you have collected, you are dealing with, you cannot analyze it. Before analyzing, whether you want to make histogram or pie chart or bar chart, or you want to apply which test of significance, qualitative data, you want to use quantitative data, you have to able to know which type of data you are dealing. According to that, you have to apply, you have to summarize the data, and you have to apply the test of significance. So then we should also know what are various measures of center tendency. Sometimes you may be asked that in the examination, that calculate mean, median, mode of the given data, but sometimes you are not. You may be asked like this, that calculate the measures of center tendency or measures of measures of dispersion. So you must know what are various measures of center tendency and what are various measures of dispersion. And in various measures of dispersion, we know it is range, variance, standard deviation, most common. Of course, there are other interquartile range, coefficient of variation, but these are three most important. Then you must know what is standard error, what is formula, then what is normal curve, properties of normal curve. You may get in the SEQR, you may get in the OSPI. Then you must, I also show the curve in the Viva. You must be able to differentiate what is normal curve, what is skew distribution, whether it is right skewed, whether left skew distribution, and with examples. Then you must be able, what are various methods of data presentation, tables, graphs, diagrams, what is difference between the bar chart and the histogram and the pie chart. Then there are various tests of significance. What are various tests of significance? And when we use it, you must know it, that there are many tests of significance for parametric test and the non-parametric. And the parametric chi-square test, t-test, ANOVA, they are applied according to different types of data. Chi-square will apply when the data is qualitative, categorical, to compare the proportions between groups, but t-test we apply when we compare the means. It may be sample mean with the population mean, or you can apply the compare the mean of the same group before and after giving some intervention, or which is called paired t-test. And you can also maybe ask to compare mean of two groups, which is called independent sample t-test. And if you have to compare the means of more than three groups, then of course you will apply ANOVA, analysis of variance. And there are also non-parametric tests. I don't think at your level you need to know about those, but if somebody asks, you can say that there is a crystal wallet test, which is equivalent to ANOVA for non-parametric data. Then Mann-Whitney U test, comparing of the two means in case of the non-normal distributed data. But I don't think so. Somebody will ask you about these. This is usually asked at the postgraduate level. Now, what is variable? Variable is a characteristics or any aspect of individual, or it may be thing, that is measured, observed, assessed, or recorded. For example, blood pressure, height, weight, age, gender, marital status, heart rate, response to medication, etc. It is called variable because it can vary, subject to change from individual to individual. Blood pressure, one person is not same as the blood pressure another person. Similarly, height, weight, age, gender may be male, female, marital status, single, widowed, divorced, married, etc. So the values taken by a variable, naturally, when you carry out study, any research project, you have to define the variables. And then, of course, the values which are taken by a variable, they are called the data. So data are the raw material of statistics. Now, what is difference? Somebody may ask you, maybe in the examination, in theory or viva, what is difference between data and information? Any piece of information about a characteristics that is measured, judged, assessed, or observed, that is called data. I already told you that value taken by a variable is called data. Information, when the data is clean, summarized, and made meaningful, it becomes information. Now, what are the various types of variable, or what are various types of the data? It is same. If somebody asks you that what is variable, what is types, somebody may ask you what is data, what are various types, answer is almost the same. So variable or data is divided into two types: categorical data or qualitative data, which can only be categorized. You can make its category, you cannot measure it. So it is again further of two types: nominal, ordinal. Nominal mean category is mutually exclusive but unordered. There is no order in it, just names. For example, gender may be male, female, or blood group may be A, B, C, etc. Or color, etc. Or then there is disease may be present or absent. And then second type of categorical data is ordinal. Ordinal category here also mutually exclusive, but they are ordered: first, second, third, stages of disease, mild, moderate, severe. But you cannot tell the difference between first and second position, second and third position, but they are ordered. This is called ordinal. These are two types. And then stages of disease: first stage, second disease, third disease, level of education, metric, intermediate, etc. Then there is a second type of variable or data is numerical or quantitative, which can be measured, and it is in numbers. It is further two types. One is discrete, one is categorical. Discrete mean which is in whole numbers. It cannot be in fraction. For example, number of cases of measles in hospitals, number of female students in a fourth year maybe class, etc. So this is called discrete. And second type of numerical or quantitative data is continuous, which is on continuous scale. It can be in fractions. For example, height, weight, blood pressure, serum cholesterol level, blood sugar level. So it can be in fraction. It is a continuous score. So these are 4 types of data. You must be able qualitative, categorical, nominal, ordinal, and quantitative or numerical for the 2 types, discrete and continuous. Then these are scales of measurement. 4-level system. When you enter the data and the SPSS, naturally to ask you what is the type of your variable, which you are entering. So it may be nominal, same. Then you assign the numbers. If it is name, it is called string. If you enter name of the person, but if you enter, for example, 1 for male, 2 for female, then of course the computer will read it as a numerical. So it's arbitrary. Basically, it is a qualitative nominal. Similarly, ordinal, Likert scale, for example, or first, second, third, or stages of disease, mild, moderate, severe, first stage, second stage, third degree of pain, mild, moderate, severe, etc. Then interval and ratio scale. Basically, these are 2 types of the continuous scale quantitative data. There is a not major difference. There are include intervals between the variables. They are ordered, but there is a minor difference between internal and ratio scale. Interval computer SPS usually asks you give scale, only scale. Computer reads scale, these 2 types of data, interval and ratio scale. So this is quantitative, basically, a numerical data. In interval scale, you know there is no absolute zero. No absolute zero means zero does not mean complete absence of the quantity. For example, 0 temperature does not mean complete, there is no temperature. Similarly, 60 degrees centigrade is not twice as hot as 30 degrees centigrade. So similarly, IQ, etc. In the ratio scale, all the equal distance with variables ordered, they are same, but one difference, there is absolute zero here. For example, if the 0 blood pressure means there's no blood pressure, 0 weight means there's no weight. So this is minor difference between intervals. Otherwise, you can count interval, ratio scale, continuous scale, quantitative data, continuous scale. Now, after collecting the data, you have to summarize the data numerically as well as graphically. For numerical summarization, if the data is quantitative, you will calculate mean, median, mode. But if the data is qualitative or categorical, then of course you will calculate the frequencies and the percentages, because you cannot measure those data. What is mean? Mean, in the mean you add all the number of observation divided by the number of observation, total number of observation, sigma x divided by n. And median is the middle value when the data is arranged in ascending and descending order of magnitude, and it is the middle value if the data is odd. If the data is even, you add the middle 2 values and divide by the 2, and then you can get median. Now I usually ask in the Viva, what is the main disadvantage of mean, which becomes the advantage of median? The main disadvantage of mean is affected by extreme values. If there is an extreme value in your data, naturally mean goes either very low or very up, depending upon the nature of observation. But median is not affected by the extreme values. So mode is the most frequently occurring value in any data, not very much used in statistics. Then measures of dispersion, range, difference between minimum and maximum value, interquartile range, difference between first and third quartile, between 25% or 75% percentile, or first quartile or between third quartile. The middle 50% value, they are called interquartile range. This usually will called when we calculate when the data is not normally distributed. It is skewed data. Then for measure of dispersion, we usually calculate the interquartile range, and for measures of centered tendency, we calculate the median. Then variance, this is sort of average deviation of the values from the mean. Variance not much used. It's usually used for calculation of the standard deviation. The formula is sigma x minus x bar square divided by n minus 1. If you take the positive square root of this variance, then it becomes the standard deviation, the sort of average deviation of the observations from the mean. And then coefficient of variation we will see. We will examine in the next, and then the percentile we can also see. This is steps involved in the calculating the standard deviation. First, you take the first of all take the deviation of the observation from the mean, x minus x bar. First, you calculate the mean, of course. Then you take the deviation observation from the mean. Then you scale the each deviation, sigma x minus x bar ka square. Then you add up square deviation, sigma x minus x bar square. Then divide the result by number of observation minus 1 and minus 1. Then take the square root of sigma x minus x bar and minus 1. So this is the standard deviation. Here is the example. It is also given in your example in your book. This is the blood pressure of 10 men, diastolic blood pressure, and these individual values. And then this is the mean 81. You take deviation of each observation, deviation from the mean, x minus x bar. For example, 83 minus 81, it is 2. Then you scale the deviation so to eliminate the signs, so it is 4. Then you add all these square deviations, sigma x minus x bar ka square, then divided by the n minus 1. And then you take the under root, it becomes the standard deviation. Here is the this is the mean 81 variance, and this is the standard deviation 7.32. Standard error is the standard deviation divided by n under root. It is usually we calculate standard error. It is used in the calculation of confidence interval. Moreover, if with the help of standard error, you can find out what the difference between the sample mean and the population mean. For example, if you take the blood pressure of the 10 students in 4th MBB class, and you calculate mean of this, then you take the blood pressure of the whole class, whole population, 4th MBBS, and you calculate the mean, then definitely there will be difference between the sample mean and the population mean. This difference is called, in simple word, a standard error. The more, the lesser is standard error, the more accurate are your findings, more closer to the true population mean. Then coefficient of variation, this is the ratio of standard deviation to the mean, expressed as percentage of the mean. So standard deviation divided by mean multiply 100. Coefficient were one important application mean and standard deviation. When one desired to compare the dispersion in two sets of data, comparing the two standard deviation may lead to fallacious result. Standard deviation may be same or two sets of data, but coefficient variation will be different, because it is calculated in percentages. It is independent of unit of measurement. So it is more reliable measure as compared to the standard deviation to see the variation of two sets of data. We can compare also variation between two sets of data. Normal distribution, distribution occupying the center position in statistical theory and practice called normal distribution. It is theoretical mathematical model that has been found to fit many biological characteristics on height, weight, blood pressure, serum cholesterol, normal human body temperature, hemoglobin. It is also called Gaussian distribution curve, since Gauss and from Germany and Laplace from France, both are mathematicians. They established it as scientific principles. What are properties? It is symmetrical bell-shaped curve extending infinitely in both direction. It is symmetrical about the mean. The majority of the values clustered around the mean. Right and left halves identical. Normal distribution, theoretical distribution defined by two parameters, mean and standard deviation. It is probability, since it is a probability distribution, so it area is taken 1, at a mean is 0, standard deviation 1, standard normal curve. The mean, median, mode all are equal and at the center in the normal distribution. Single peak it has single peak or unimodal. In the curve, the low frequencies are at the two extremes of the distribution and are called upper and lower tails of the distribution. Some established facts in normal curve are that 68.2% of the values, all observations, they always fall within one standard deviation below and above the mean. That is, mean plus minus one standard deviation will always cover 68.2 observation, 68.2% observation. Similarly, mean plus minus 2 standard deviation will always cover 95.4% observation, and mean plus 3 standard deviation will cover almost the all observation, 99.7% observation. This is the normal curve. You may also be asked, this area may be shaded, this area may be shaded, and you may be asked what is the right percentage of this area. So this is total mean plus minus 68.2 standard deviation, and one mean plus minus 1 standard deviation. So 68%, if you divided 34.1% on this side, 34.1%. The total here is 95.4, and of course, if you calculate from here, then of course this will become 13.6%. This means 30%. You add this. If you add all this, it will become 95.4%. And this is the in 3 standard deviation, 2.15% on this side, and on the negative side, lower side also 2.15%. Total become 99.7%. So you must be able to have to memorize these percentage of distribution. Distribution which is not normal, it is called skewed distribution, asymmetrical distribution. A skewed distribution may be positively skewed, where the upper tail is higher than the lower tail. Means mean is greater than median, median greater than mode. For example, income, BMI, they are the positively skewed. And in the negatively skewed distribution, the lower tail is higher than the upper tail, and the mean is smaller than median, median is smaller than mode, for example, period of gestation. Now, how will you present the data and statistics? There are various methods: table, charts, frequency diagram, picture, graph, special curve plots. And table may be simple table, frequency distribution table, then cumulative frequency table, relative frequency table, cumulative relative frequency table. Similarly, in the charts, maybe there are bar chart. There are two types of the bar chart and pie chart, which are commonly used in statistics for presentation of data. You may have used in your investigations also, in your research studies also. And this bar chart may be simple bar chart, multiple bar chart when there are more two or more variables, then component bar chart, then frequency diagram, histogram, frequency polygon, cumulative frequency polygon, which also called a Venn diagram. Then pictures may be pictogram, graphs, line graphs, scatter diagram, scatter graphs and diagrams. And special curves may be epidemic curve. Then plots may be dot plot, stem and leaf plot, box and whisker plot. So these are various types of data. This is the bar diagram showing method of delivery. 600 babies born in a hospital, and C-section 57%, forceps delivery 65%, normal 78. This is normal distribution in the hospital, but now this portion is increasing day by day due to various reasons. Then you can also present the qualitative data in the form of bar chart or pie chart. Pie chart is a circle with slices, and total area is 360 degrees. So this is the professional data of the occupation data. Professional 13%, 23% skilled, unskilled is 64%. So you may be asked that what is the angle of 13% or 23%, 64%? If you know the formula, it's very easy. This is the formula. Component part divided by whole part and multiplied by 360. Now this is the histogram. In the histogram, it is used for quantitative data. Histogram, frequency polygon for the presentation of quantitative data, and there are no spaces between bar. In the qualitative data, there were spaces in the bar chart. You know, there are spaces between the bars, and length of the bar represents the frequency. And here, you know, there are no space in between. These are the range of values. So this total area represents the frequency of the variable. So this is the age of age data of the 1514 people. This standard deviation. This is the mean age. And this is the somebody may ask you what is the difference between histogram bar chart. You must be able histogram for quantitative data. It is qualitative for qualitative. There is no space between bars unless a certain value is zero frequency. Then of course there will be space. Always space between bars in bar chart. For construction, classes are used, or groups, classes, class interval. No class is required. Frequency polygon can be constructed with the help of that by joining the midpoint of the histogram, but you cannot do no such use of bar chart. Based on discrete or continuous data, it is based on nominal or ordinal data. Histogram show the skewness of the data, if any. You can also find out whether the data is normally distributed or skewed, but bar chart is silent on skewness. So this is the scatter diagram, shows the relationship between two quantitative variables, linear relationship. So here you can see current salary, between current salary, education level. If the education level increases, current salary, it is a positive, relationship between positive correlation between education and current salary. In some cases, you may also get a negative correlation. For example, number of classes attended, number of grade achieved in the class. They are inversely related. Similar number of cigarette smoke, life expectancy, they are negatively. One increases, other decreases. They are both are increasing. This is positives. So you may be shown various these diagrams, scatter diagrams in the Viva, and you may ask to interpret it. This is the no linear relationship, and this is the imperfect positive relationship, but imperfect. This is, these are all dots are on the same line. So R is 1, mean perfect positive correlation. The ranges are, you know, from -1 to +1. -1 mean there is a negative perfect correlation. +1 perfect positive correlation. So these are the various choices of data. If you have qualitative data, you can present it with the table, bar chart, pie chart, pictogram, spot diagram. If you have quantitative data, you can also use a table, but simple table, yeah, frequency distribution table. Then in the histogram, this for discrete data, you can use also bar chart. Normally, bar chart is used for the qualitative discrete data. Frequency polygon, cumulative frequency polygon, line diagram, scatter diagram, box plot. So now we will discuss various tests of significance. There are most commonly used significant test in statistics. 70% cases, chi-square test and t-test. And chi-square test is used for comparison of proportion in case of qualitative data, and t-test, one sample, pair t-test, independent sample t-test, or two sample t-test, pair t-test, same group before and after intervention. When you compare the mean of the same group is the same. For example, you take the blood pressure of one group of patient, then you give some medicine, and then again after some time you again record the blood pressure of those patients, and you compare the mean of these two observations. This is called pair t-test. Independent sample t-test, where you compare the means of the two independent groups, means of two independent groups. This is also called student t-test. Z-test, if the sample size is more than 60, you can use Z-test. It is equivalent to t-test. ANOVA, it is also called analysis of variance, when you compare the means of 3 or more groups. What is null hypothesis? Null hypothesis is assumption that in total population, no real difference exists between groups, or no real association exists between the variable. That is why it is called null. It is generated 180-degree opposite to the question in hand in test of significance. So when you are given some test of significance, you have to formulate null hypothesis. If our calculated value chi-square, for example, t or z, is more than tabulated value, because table values are given for each chi-square table, t table, z table. At 5% level of significance, we reject the null hypothesis. If calculated value of our test is less than the tabulated value, we accept the null hypothesis. These are steps in hypothesis testing. First, you formulate hypothesis or null hypothesis. Then you specify the level of significance, for example, 5% really. Then you select the appropriate test, chi-square test or t-test, depending upon the type of data. Then you compute the value of that test. Then after computing the value statistical test, you can select the statistical table for whether it is a chi-square table or t-table, and you see the p-value. Then depending upon the p-value, then you either accept or reject the null hypothesis. The p-value less than 0.05, you reject the null hypothesis, or no difference or no association. And if it is more than, you accept the null hypothesis. So p-values in simple words is the probability of occurrence of result by chance. So normally in our studies, we keep this 5% chance, less than 5% rather. If our chance of result, if our probability of occurrence of result in our study is chance is more than 5%, then usually there is we say the difference is statistically not significant. If it is less than 0.05, then of course we say that there is statistically significant difference between two groups, or there is significant association. So if the p-value is low, conventionally less than 0.05, null hypothesis or no association rejected. And we say chance is unlikely explanation for the finding. The results are considered statistically significant at that level. Now this is the chi-square test formula. Chi-square, this is sigma, summation sign, observed value minus rho minus e square divided by observed value, expected value, divided by expected value. For each cell you calculate this. Observed value, expected value. How you calculate, this is summation sign. How you call this observed value, expected value. How you calculate the expected value? Observed value is given, expected value you have to calculate. Row total multiply column total divided by total number of categories are divided by grand total. This is our number of categories. You just forget about it. You remember this formula. Row total multiply column total divided by grand total. So these are various steps. Nobody will ask you steps, but you should know for calculation. Set the null hypothesis, make the containers table, determine the expected value number in each cell, find the difference between observed value, expected frequency in each cell, O minus E, square the difference, O minus E squared, calculate the chi-square value by the formula, calculate the degree of freedom, that is the n minus number n minus 1 usually would take, or there is a formula, so total number of columns minus 1 multiplied total number of rows minus 1. Find the p-value from the chi-square table, interpret the result. And there is also quick formula for calculating the chi-square. That is a lengthy, that takes time consuming, but this is a very takes a quick formula. You take less time for the calculation. Also, the limitation of the formula is that it can only be used in 2 by 2 table. It cannot be used for 2 by 3 or 3 by 3 or large tables. N mean grand total multiply in bracket AD minus BC. AD mean A multiplied D minus BC. These are the cells. Then the square divided by EFGH, where N is grand total of sample size, E is row total, row number 1, F is the row total number 2, row total 2, G is the column 1 total, and H is the column 2 total. So here you can see just ABC. This is the central table, ABCD. This is the row total, first row, A plus B. You can label it E. You can label it F, C plus D. You can label it any, but this is for convenience. Then this is the column total, G, A plus C. And then this is the second column total, H, B plus D. This is the grand total. So this is the, if you are able to formulate 2 by 2 table, and you can fill all the values, then if you know the formula, there should be no problem in calculating the chi-square. You may be asked chi-square, but nobody will ask, we will not ask you the t-test or ANOVA, but you should know where the tests are used, where paired t-test is used, where ANOVA is used, where independent sample t-test is used. This example is also given in your book. I have taken from your book. This is the trial of 2 vaccine, whooping cough vaccine, 2 types of vaccine, then vaccine A and vaccine B. In the vaccine A was given to 90 people, B was given to 86 people, and out of 90, 22 who were attacked. In spite of the vaccination, they got the whooping cough, attack of whooping cough. Similarly, in the B, out of 86 were given to 86, out of 14 got this whooping cough, and attack rate was 16.2%. 14 divided by 86, 22 divided by 90. So apparently, this vaccine B seems better. Here attack is less as compared to vaccine, but we have to prove with the help of statistics. This claim nobody will accept until you have to prove your finding with the help of the statist, applying the chi-square test or any test which you think it is appropriate. Then you calculate the p-value, and depending upon the p-value, you can say that the difference is statistically significant or not, one is better than other or not. Because if you say without this, nobody will accept your claim. Null hypothesis, there is no difference between the effect of 2 vaccines. At the end, we have to reject or accept the null hypothesis. So taking the first formula, sigma O minus E square divided by E, you have make table. This is the observed value, the same whichever 92 people vaccine A was given, 22 attacked, 62 not attacked, and this is expected value. Expected we mean this is the row total multiply column total, 90 multiply 36 divided by grand total 176. So this will come the expected value. If you know the formula, there should be no problem for calculation the expected value of each table. Similarly, you can calculate the for the other table. This is the formula: row total multiply column total divided by the grand total. Degree of freedom in the 2 by 2 table, we usually calculate total rows -1, total columns -1. This is a 2 by 2 table, so there are 2 rows, 2 minus 1 multiply 2 minus 1, the degree of freedom is 1. This is the same formula we have, if you know the steps, by implying chi-square comes the 1.79. But degree of freedom is 1. If you consult the chi-square table, you find the p-value is more than 0.05. Therefore, null hypothesis is accepted, and it is concluded that there is no difference between vaccine A and B. This is the chi-square table. Normally, if we give you, we do not give the table. We can give the table also, but we will say you should know that chi-square value, p-value by chi-square value 3.84, this will give you is the 3.84. So if your value is less than 3.84, you will accept the null hypothesis. P-value will be more than 0.05. If your calculated chi-square value is more than 3.84, it means p-value is less than 0.05, you will reject the null hypothesis. So you can use the quick formula, which is very easy. I have given already you. So here again the same answer, 1.8. So p-value is more than 0.05. So null hypothesis is rejected. So null hypothesis accepted. So there is no difference in the efficacy of vaccine A and B in this case. This is another example. The survey on the use of seatbelt found that 20 out of 60 males with high school education and 30 out of 40 male graduates were wore seat belts regularly. Is there evidence suggesting the association between education and seat belt? Use degree of freedom 1, chi-square at p-value 0.04. So this is we give you. So if your chi-square value is more than 3.84, it means p-value less than 0.05. You reject the null hypothesis. If it is less, you accept the null hypothesis. And here you should be able to make the 2 by 2 table. So this is normally the things which influences you keep in the rows, and the outcome you should put these values in the columns. For example, since the education is affecting the seat belt use, so this is the you keep in the rows. College graduate, high school graduate, they are seeing the use association of the education with the seat belt use. So after making this null hypothesis, there is no association between education and seat belt use, because the null hypothesis is 180-degree opposite the question in hand. So after applying this quick formula, here the trick is that you must give the double bracket. Otherwise you will not be calculate the answer. Here this is the you must give the double bracket here. And then 11.84 is much greater than 3.84. Because greater than 3.84 with 1 degree of freedom, we would reject the null hypothesis of independence and expect there is association between education and seat belt use. So here is much higher than 3.84. So you have to interpret your result also. So that's all for today. I have already uploaded the assignment number 12 on the test of significance, and you have to submit by tomorrow. So don't ask me to extend the time. So you try to calculate today. It's very simple. If you know the formula, if you are able to make the 2 by 2 table, if you know, then there should be no problem. It will hardly take 5 minutes. So that's all for today. If you have any questions or queries, you can contact me through your WhatsApp group. Thank you very much.